Hello and welcome to Math World. Today we're going to talk about comparing real numbers. That means we're going to compare both rational and irrational numbers. All right, so to start this lesson, the easiest way to compare two numbers is by converting them both to decimal numbers. Once they're in decimal form, we can easily compare which number is smaller or larger. So in today's lesson, we started with comparing the square root of 32 and 5.51326 ... And what we used was the calculator to estimate. It's a quick way to estimate what the square root of 32 is. Using your using your scientific calculator, you were able to use the square root of 32 and to approximate that the square root of 32 was about 5.65. Once you realize that the decimal is 5.65, you can compare the same digits of the decimal, in this case 5.65, compared to 5.51, to realize that 5.65 is larger, and so therefore the square root of 32 is larger. So again, to decide which number is smaller or larger, convert them both to decimals and then compare. We are going to compare in order more than just two numbers, though, so we may have to use a number line to help us out. So the next thing we did in class with these five numbers is we converted all of them to decimals. So when we saw the square root of 11, we converted it to 3.3 using the calculator. When we saw a fraction like 2 and 1/4, we converted the 1/4 to 0.25. Remember, fractions can be converted by dividing. 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. So 1 and 1/4, so 2 and 2/4 is 2.25. When numbers are already written in decimal form, we don't have to change anything. So the negative 2.5 was left as negative 2.5. The same with the 3.6 repeating was rounded to 3.6, and the negative 3.9 with a bunch of numbers was written as negative 3.9. Once they're all in decimal form, we can then use a number line to figure out which number is the smallest. In this case, negative numbers are definitely starting to be the smallest, so we put negative 3.9 as the smallest number. Then the negative 2.5. Then when we got to the positive numbers, we wrote the 2.25 as the next largest number, but notice that we wrote our answer as the original number was written, as 2 and 1/4. The same as when we realized that 3.3 was smaller than 3.6, and we try to write our next answer, we didn't write 3.3, we wrote the original number of square root of 11. And lastly, the largest number was 3.6 repeating. So a number line will help us as well. We did a couple examples in class, and let's try one together here. So using these 6 numbers, let's write them in order from least to greatest. The first step is to write each of these numbers in a decimal form so we can easily compare it. The square root of 100 is actually just 10. So let's write down 10. 0.54 repeating can be just written as 0.54. Negative 6 is already a whole number, so we'll just leave it as negative 6. Square root of 5, we'll have to use our calculator to figure that out. I don't know that one off the top of my head, so I'm using my calculator for square root of 5, and it comes out to about 2.2. So we'll say that this can be estimated to be 2.2. 1/7, again, I'll use my calculator to do 1 divided by 7, and it comes out to about 0.14. This is about 0.14. And 1, of course, is just the whole number 1. Now that all 6 of these numbers have been converted to decimal form, it's easier for me to compare them. The smallest number will be this negative 6 because, negatives are the smallest, or smaller than positive numbers. All right, I also like to cross numbers out once I use them up, so I don't use them twice. All right, now let's compare these other 5 numbers. These 2 numbers here start with 0, so they're definitely smaller than these other numbers, but what's smaller, 0.54 or 0.14? The 0.1 will be the next smallest number. However, when I go to write that answer, remember I'm going to write it in the original form, not the decimal form. So this kind of even though this is the next number, I'm writing the original form of 1/7 next. Cross it out because I used it. Now we can show that 0.54 repeating. And again, I'm going to put the little hat over it to show that's repeating because that's what the original number showed me. All right, we're down to 3 more numbers, 10, 2.2, and 1. Hopefully we know that 1 is the next largest number, so I'll include the 1, and it was written simply as 1. Now between 10 and 2.2, 2.2 is definitely the next number in line, but I'm not going to write the 2.2. I'm going to write the square root of 5, because that's how it was originally given to us. Oh, I forgot to cross the 1 out. Don't want to use it again. So let's now cross out the square root of 5 since I used it. That leaves our largest number, the square root of 100. And again, I'm writing it in the original form that it was given to me. I only converted it to decimal numbers so that I could easily compare them in order from least to greatest. And that's what today's lesson was about, taking any numbers, both rational and irrational, and ordering them from least to greatest. Well, that's it, and I'll see you in class.